Hello, everyone. This is Nathan Raymond, and I'm coming at you from Japan of something that I call the Japan Exchange. And this Japan Exchange is an accumulation of my time in Japan, but it's now being offered to you for something that we could do. And this is why I'm making this webinar here, because I've prepared some things today that I want to share with you. And if you will let me, then here I will share them. Okay. So I prepared a lot of these pictures that I've collected over the years, and my Facebook is acting really slow. A lot of glitches. Sorry about that, but it's not exactly working out like I'm hoping. So, what I'm trying to do is actually yes, here we go. So now I just want to show like all of your goals, okay? Whatever goals you aspire to be, okay? What I think you're going to find is there's a lot of hurdles along the way, but I want to tell you how we could make things easier if we create something called a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization. And now that we talk about me being in Japan, I want to tell you about what we're talking about is sort of this, mix with AI, robotics, using our information data, and how that's something that I'm trying to bring to you in the most easiest way possible, if you will let me. And if we can do that, then I want you to take a look at what's possible in how whoever's listening to this podcast, you and I have the ability to communicate, connect, and we do what's called a mutual beneficial joint venture where we will bring people together. And there's a lot of organizations that will jump on this, okay? Now, recognize where we're at in this situation, that all of us here are using something like Facebook, but that is all part of like the third generation. But what we're just starting now is the fourth generation. And that's where we start talking about DAO, Web3s, NFTs, and my Japan Exchange app is something I created so we can get this benefit. But even without the app, I want you to understand that we're just talking about how Web3, right? Once we get into this, it starts this whole spiral about how we're all going to be organized. Now, look, this really is called 5D because when you hear people's mindsets or, what they're thinking, okay, we're going to really get down into this 5D, okay, where we're just on faith, focus on the present, surrender. We're talking about a healthy mindset. And there's something called a Merkaba, which I just don't, you don't have to believe in this stuff if you don't believe in it. But a human is a magnet, and we are activating our magnetism. So anyone drawn to this message, know this is part of something we call essentially like the law of attraction. And I'm calling on you to take what I call is the hero's journey. All right, where you're the call of an adventure, but in that call of adventure, you stumble upon somebody who I won't call myself a teacher, but I will just call myself someone who spent a long time in Japan. And now my long time in Japan makes it so you can get that benefit immediately. All right. So understand the evolution we're going about has to do with the past way of work, which, as you can see, 9 to 5 in an office, sucks. Two, the future, work anytime, anywhere, any device. I mean, you are the personal brand. So there is a way you're taking ownership of your information, your company, and recognize this AI bank of the future that we are indeed connecting to. Well, this is something that actually is going to be using our bio data, but not using it in the way you think, where they're taking our DNA and this happens without our knowledge. No, this is your information, your interests, your skills, your dream. This is our conscious use of our life experience as the value, okay? Even where you live, your culture, your language. And recognize that we are digitally transforming the way things work. And look, this is just an example of something coming out of India. And recognize that India is a place that, even though I'm in Japan and I'm from New York, but there is value from all around the world we tap into. And India does in some ways pave the ways, which just shows that for you to pave the way, you have an effect on people. We are all one. Now, the way that I sum up my experience in Japan has to do with these 12 categories of value. These are all experiences in Japan that I had, that when you come to Japan, now you do, because as an English speaker, your English is relevant in these situations. And we're taking English out of the classroom, into the business, into the situation. And this turns into educational tourism travel, but also you creating YouTube video. But this all goes into your personal brand and how we take it and accelerate it into something that really does give value. And this has to do with you seeing yourself as the sensei, as passing on those who are now younger, using your experience and guiding people into the future. And what this is going to do is give you a really good, comfortable life when you get older. Planting trees, seeds for trees you'll never sit under the shade of. But recognize, Japan is the land of companies, and we already do have so many situations where all these companies, they are just members of like various organizations set to really, things. And nowadays we're on TikTok, we're doing all these things, but if you can run a gang, you can run a company. If you can write a rap, you can read a book. If you can fill out a fight, you can shoot a movie, film a fight, right? These things that people are doing, they're doing the lowest version when instead we could do the highest version. And we want to push people to really like take over the world. Stop selling yourself short. And this is the way. So we're going to come up with what it is about your ikigai. Ikigai is this way we describe like how you get this unstoppable mesh with your passion, to where we're taking into account like what you love, your strengths, what you can be paid for, what the world needs. But with me, we kind of already make this so fast for you, where you're just an English conversation teacher to Japanese people, and this stuff happens naturally, accelerating you, okay? And we're doing something it's called Sampo Yoshi, three-way satisfaction, coming out of Japan, good for the seller, good for the buyer, good for society. Now look, you and me talking together, we are society, we're collaborating. But the buyer is the city. And if we get the city as a customer, then everybody in the city becomes our customer. So it's a more efficient way of how we're using our intelligence. But the sellers, they're all the businesses. And right now, businesses are facing high marketing costs, but us as society and our YouTube channels, we take over business. And I want you to recognize how there's so much to be made. So we've got these kinds of technologies like, look, check out this bike. Pretty cool, right? And, look at this kind of like drone thing. These are the kind of future technologies that we really can connect to. And when we do it word of mouth, we like get this stuff for free and we get commissions selling it. And it's just a high price stuff. And recognize, right? Okay, so we do have this India, as I said, and they're giving their students a year off to build their startup. So how would you like to be instrumental in attracting India people and giving them the acceleration to build their startups, but in the process building your startup? And we're right there with this global change that all of us can be part of. So recognize this. Oh, I hate when I do things and I mess up my own flow. But we just go right back into it. And so here, now we come to recognize even more what it is out of India we're getting with. So look at it. When we talk about what India has, look, we have a lot of coders, okay? A lot of coders, and we're really utilizing these coders, but you and I, we're content creators. Even if you're watching this, you're a content creator. And when I go back to New York, look, I've got Pittsburgh, which is one of the biggest robotics source of funding. America really is trying to get with this, but the way they're using money is inefficient. But that's where you and I come in, because we even take this money, make it go farther, but we even get a piece of it. Let's get rich, people. Again, this thing is always messing with me. So I'm not the most technically advanced, but it just shows no matter what. That's why as content creators and this, So I am using this blockchain, which is called the Dash Next AI, okay? And we have for $27, anybody can get a subscription, a license where you're getting one-time fee. We're connected to this blockchain where we are working as stakeholders, doing profit sharing, having our information contribute to people who can just use our information and get profits, and we get it. And this taps into our highest potential of humans as the Tesla, right? I mean, look, we are sitting on a gold mine when it comes to us, but on social media, we're just wasting it, and people are getting rich off us. But if we get on a separate system, which I created called the Japan Exchange, we own the information, we make money off it. Recognize we are in a war of frequencies when everything in this matrix is just built by this inversion and distortion. So you yourself are not valued, but with us, you are the highest value of this. And recognize what we got going on in Japan are people trying to, like for example, this guy, he's really trying to work on something called the smart city, but there's a real danger of these technologies being brought in by a population that doesn't even know how to take their own power. So we're really trying to do this at a grassroots level of how we collaborate, because look, we are the highest potential. And there is something about us that has been passed down through generations, through knowledge that we could understand that through the dawn of time, the people who have ruled us have just been presiding over, utilizing us, but without utilizing ourselves. But we really do get sensitive to how it's practical knowledge for us about how we do have a right brain, left brain divide, and how America I consider to be a more right brain expressive society, and Japan to be a more left brain engineering, systems engineering society, but how we bring this together in a kind of hybrid. And when we have the right brain, it reacts, okay? So something you interpret as good or bad, you will react to that, where the left brain doesn't care about if it's good or bad, it just is. And sometimes when we say certain things to people like, I'm going to be rich, they'll feel a certain way about that. But when we get, understanding of how people react, we can actually control those reactions in others, get the reaction we want out of people, join with people, have them collaborate with us and not against us. And recognize that when we say a bank, okay, it's so similar to a river bank, recognizing that the money flows, that money doesn't just stay stagnant in your pocket, because if you have this money, they will tax you. But you need to put your money out into the world. And that's why we are creating startups and we're investing in other startups. And those startups generate funds which come back to us. So we really are getting, wise to our energy. And these types of things that they talk about, how we have these like chakras, but we're not just talking about it in the abstract, it's practical. It really does have to do with what we're talking about. And recognize too that, certain stories that we've heard, there are so many different ways of understanding, but this number 12 is significant. And that goes to the 12 categories of business I created. So again, this just has to do with how it's practical. Now, I could go on to about, yes, this kind of knowledge, yes, where we really do talk about how it's, relates to you. Once again, we see just the way that, the future. But here, let's talk about this, how we're influencing, engaging, and connecting. But all of this makes us leaders. So I'm being a leader by making this video, and I want you to be a leader too, but also recognize how, see, when you have certain separations, like for example, in this aquaponic system, we have a fish tank and we have a water medium that's growing vegetables. But how, if you want to grow vegetables, put the fish in with the vegetables. Now, that's what I'm saying with Japan. If you want to have Japanese cities that are thriving, put the foreign travelers in the cities. And I live in one of those cities that's not Tokyo, but actually more valuable than Tokyo, but still, nobody knows about my city. But that's why I'm doing this, is that I'm creating the awareness of my city and welcome you to travel so we can really fix things. And now that we're dealing with this types of, like, for example, we have a huge amount of people, like this one side could be Japanese, one side could be foreign people, but as we get down into it, we get into how people eventually funnel and match according to the choices they make. And we allow people to make their choices. And why work with Japan? Well, look, we've got a population that's, it's quite big in a small location, even though that population is going down. I actually want you guys to get married to Japanese people, have kids. We'll bring the population back up. But in the meantime, look at how we've got quite a lot of money and companies, the land of companies, and we're tapping into that. So look, everything a marketer must know how to do has to do with all these things that I brought to you: brand positioning, brand story, strategic plan. Now remember, the personal brand, okay, the personal brand is the culture. So my particular Japan exchange, the human is the culture. So this is something that's unheard of as far as you think of your country's culture. It's the people conforming to the culture. But your personal brand allows for you to create your own culture and not conform. People don't conform to it. People get to use your culture as a way to connect with other people. So again, business results, organization culture, consumer experience, product innovation, all these things is what, when you join me, we are doing. And it's all set up to you. And recognize that, you might have this big thing you want to say to people, but people can't understand it unless you are talking to somebody who is ready at a situation. Because sometimes you meet people, they have no money, they're just not in a good mental space. And how to get those people and take them up the steps to how they could eventually get to where they themselves are knowing themselves. And and ask people, where are you living? Some people are living in the past, people living in the future, but we need to be in the present moment. And this communication is a way that we can get there. So we're talking also about meeting people who have fixed mindsets and how to check them into growth mindsets, and seeing people who are afraid to make mistakes and always wanting something to be perfect. And but people just relax, right? You cannot learn without mistakes. And if you come to Japan, they want to learn English, but they're fixed mindsets. We need a growth mindset. And that can only happen when I introduce someone like you, who is a person. And yes, again, we go into all this different stage of development we face. But look, we're talking about digital coins. And right now we have something called a Gifu coin where I live. And people who are watching this and come travel with me, we have the ability to supply you with Gifu coins that will get donated by companies. So your travel is free, your experience is free, because all of this is going to make you a more effective marketer, because the marketer is now going to make money for the companies. And so let's make sure we take advantage of that. Subjects that should be mandatory in schools but are not taught, but that's why you're joining us, so that you could learn about these things: taxes, coding, cooking, insurance, and all these things that people are starved for this knowledge, but how we connect to it. And so recognize, right, that as a leader, okay, we're really focusing on these, goal-oriented, confident, knowledgeable and curious, efficient, adapts to change easily. These things we really doubt come into play, and we see behind language and situations and more recognize what these patterns are. And so, also recognize how non-fungible tokens, they're ways that we are right now, they're tools we're using. So for example, one of the sections that we have is art. And when we're turning art into NFTs, that is something that we're sharing with people. So we're creating these gifts that we give to people. And it starts this transition of how we're leading people where they want to go, because people respond well to a gift, and as Japan, we're gift givers. So this is Japanese culture on display. Now understand UI and UX. Me creating this Japan exchange makes me a UI, kind of like the person who's making the user, right? The structure, let's say that, okay? But the UX is the user experience. And this is just so when you use what we're doing, you're having a great time. It's fun. You want to keep your attention going, right? And and also understand that it's like when we look at different cultures, people, right, there's different leadership styles. Now look, I'm from Russia and this is from Japan, but look, we have all these different ways that eventually people are joining us, and we understand how to connect with different people. We're okay. Tell me and I forget, teach me and I remember, involve me and I learn. So you just got to be involved with me. And there's so much I set up for you to learn. And recognize too that your boss is checking out you. It's a boring job, but right now you could be making 5K to 15K a month, monetizing your passions with a coaching business from wherever in the world. I mean, that's awesome. And look, this is this guy I connected to. And look, he's our Japanese advocate. He's taking over some empty houses, reformed them, and now you're welcome to stay in them. And this guy, our Japanese allies, we help him. See, we bring with him we're helping his personal brand, and all of us do this. And so understand, right, stable coins, okay, and the future of finance, right? We really are using these multiple currencies, and this plays into it, but our user experience is how it makes that possible. Now, whenever you're watching this, know that we're at a critical time where we're got something called the singularity, where all of us are going to be united one way or the other. So we need to get the ball rolling. So when these things happen, you are able to fly, people. That's what I'm trying to bring to you. Now, we are healers, if you can believe that. And I coined the term quantum healing. And so what we need you to know is that we need to heal people and heal what makes people sick, meaning take people out of these destructive patterns they're in and put them into new ones that we set up. And we all are different, right? I mean, we have different ways of communicating what kinds of things we're doing. Like, for example, the shark, who's focused on the goals, or the owls, who's focused on the goals and the relationships, or the fox, who, it's like, certain people you're talking to, they give away patterns that lets you know what's going to be a more effective communication style, right? We are malleable, we are adaptable. We don't just have one thing for one person, but you also need to understand that, look, electricity is the way that we are, using these twin opposing forces of also, the mother, the father. Like, look, there's all different ways we're going to have about communicating with this. And also recognize here, like right now in Japan, I can tell you they have all these government sponsored smart city mass projects. But what I'm talking about is the place I live is not one of those government sponsored ones. This is now human sponsored one of me making this podcast connecting to you. So they are spending all these money inefficiently, and I'm doing this for free. So what are you going to choose better? And we do have the potential. Look, people have already developed about this image of the digital garden city concept. Look, this is our metaverse way that connects us. More examples of companies that are just looking for people like me to create these types of collaborations with people so we could all join. And wow, it just gets into a situation where, look, I'm the guy who's here in Japan, who's visiting companies and making these relationships. These people make these amazing things. They want to sell them. You could be the one selling them. You could be the one getting commissions on that, and recognize like somebody is intelligent. But look, there's all sorts of types of intelligences. And we're more interpersonal is what I would say is going to be working for us. But then all of us have our natural inclinations, but we just tap into those strengths, different learning styles. As leaders, we are the teachers. And how awesome is it if we go into understanding all these different ways that people learn and incorporate them? Now, don't understand too is like India. Look, we've got a lot of people in India, and we have a way to make them work for us, not against us. And so I am imploring you to join. And all this, when we collect with Japanese people, is under the thing of what we call Kaizen, which is like always developing. We're creating the best way. And this is going to move Japan forward. So key performance indicators, KPI, has to do with our point system of how my app is always going to keep you focused on the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. And so you're doing this anyway, social media, also making your playing your online games, whatever you do, but mine has the ability to actually, make you money. So let's stay with what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? And look, okay, so we're talking about how everybody is just looking at these different ways of, no matter what doom and gloom stories or what people are focused on, we just have the best version of focus. And right now, you make a choice. Look, are you going to be part of the people and freedom? Or are you going to be part of the system where you think that these people having power over you to regulate society is going to work for you? Because look, trust me, we have our own best interest at heart. And we also recognize the kind of loop we're in where, like people are trapped in patterns, but we are establishing the new patterns people need. Look, observe the crowd and do the opposite. Not everybody understands this, but as people who are blazing new trails, okay, and how, we're fed a lot of false information, but understand what an NPC is, a non-player character, and how we're saying that only a few people are really striving for their goals. And you want to be one of those people striving for your goals. That's why this Japan Exchange app is calling on the leaders, calling on the people who are like us. So whoever you're collaborated with, right, that people really know that we are the ones that are going to not resist your dream, but even accelerate it and work with you. So that's the kind of user experience we're saying people really need to be with Nate Raymond Japan Exchange. And how what goes into us making our decisions or even our technology has to do with this attention to detail about how we're creating the user experience. Once again, why we're with Japan. But look, we're focusing on people as the resource. So this is human resource, and we're taking over what people really would focus, what human resources is and are and was and were and is gonna be and is doing through us, where we're not controlling people, we're setting them free through our own way of human resources. And failure is a way of learning, right? Finding an invaluable learning using real life experience. Okay, so this is that experience you need. So understand, look, venture capital investing in startups, level 1, right? Venture capital in Web3 and crypto startups, but venture capital in Web3 starting with crypto funding, right? So look, we can't just waste money. People who say, I don't have money to get my dream, look, this is the way that you don't need money. And actually, we are the money and your information, okay? And know that, look, we're in a multipolar world, multi-currencies. Recognize the BRICS is coming out, and we just need our own way of making our own way. And look at all these countries, right, that otherwise, right, the situation just requires that people are coming together. But I'm also looking at some of these people that I've collaborated with and how, we just have a good way. Now, look, understand how blockchain is working just has to do with the fact of how we start with the Genesis block, we start with a pattern, but over time, it's growing. And our quantum entanglement means, so like when one person knows of something, everybody starts to know something. And humans, what we are in the relationship with AI is we are sources of empathy. And empathy is not just feeling sorry for one, right? It's really sensing people's emotions in a way that the technology can't. So technology will never get to its highest peak unless humans have a relationship with it and are an integral part of it. And when we talk about sentient AI, we really know our participation with the AI is what makes it sentient. So it's not about spending money, it's about us cleverly doing what we're doing. And with all these startups registered in India, okay, they make up a way that we are connecting to these startups and growing the startups and turning it from a startup to an actual business. And this is my guy from India who's come to me in Japan, and we have something called the Innovators Garage. 300 Japanese freelancers that we're there to make connections with so that their startups turn into even, global things. Yep, we got these guys, these people, the team. You know what I'm saying? And know that when you're talking to people, we're talking about people in Plato's cave, okay? They're not seeing the world for what it is, because the media is brainwashing people, and the power, but people who go beyond that and the truth seekers and go to see real life through this Japan exchange is where we really get into the next levels. And here, check me out, right? I'm here making those connections with the Japanese people, and we have various organizations waiting to already allow people to experience these various roles, that when we are with these Japanese people, they're also doing it, but they're doing it in an international way, and they recognize us. So this Japan exchange, realized too, it comes from, like, it doesn't just start with its own nice logo, but this is a shape, it comes from a Japanese hemp leaf, because this is about growth. But I did over that turn into these various things that I talked about, which, because all these logos, right, there's meaning behind the logo. And yes, these designs of how, the yin yang, and so look, the use of blockchains use cases, everybody's talking about cryptocurrency, right? But we go beyond that, okay, to also how we're changing, into decentralization and identity management, and we are the handle, and how this can turn into these startups, and changing the way we live on our cities to have startup incubators, and recognizing out of the quintessence, okay, the fifth element, which is this etheric realm where everything ties into everything, which is called the divine feminine, where everything relates to everything. And hearing people be like, oh, you talk about, this as entrepreneurship, but what's that have to do with this? Look, everything is related, but we need to be what makes everything relate in a positive way. And this place I have in Japan already connected to all these cities, where you're not just connecting to Japan, you're connecting to Australia, Mexico, Italy, China, Los Angeles, Taiwan, Uzbekistan, France. And then I'm bringing in Japan. Where are you hearing this from? You bring your location into this. It grows and grows. And there's people seeing, right, the sustainable goals, but not seeing the negative parts of that. So look, there is always a light and a dark of things, but also there is a lot of ways that, we need to think of ourselves as going on a journey to really, like, understand, like, do you know, like, English and Hebrew? Hebrew is like English in reverse. And this reverse of things, this inversion of things, this is like practical kind of magic applications. But since we talk about Japan, we're using it, but these things get used against us in the Trojan horse, where if we don't understand how things are being used to, under the guise of making things better, but actually to control us, we're dimming our light. But look, the new earth that's here, it's based on a whole new system, and your light body versus your mortal body. We are literally programming your DNA to what it will ascend. We're speaking life into it, And this can result into these startups and entrepreneurship that we're so much talking about, that if you join me in my Japan exchange, we are definitely gonna do this. And Japan itself had their own deals with, people at the bottom who are essentially these peasants, and how they're all ruled by an emperor, but how America has fundamentally a whole different culture. And so, rather the culture you were born into and their strengths and weaknesses, we're creating a new culture, which is a hybrid of opposites, where we only connect to the strengths and cancel out the weaknesses. And so understand, in this data-driven world, that there's data, but then there's information, but the way we put that together is the wisdom. And the wisdom of me being between Japan exchange, between Japan and America, and what that's entailed is what I'm saying is this wisdom we need. And when you look at a computer, but you look at the way that things used to be, look, we are just being harvested for our data. And we are getting all our information taken from us, making others rich. When are we going to get rich is the question. Well, we won't get rich until we come together. And that's what these smart contracts are. And you and I connecting and creating a smart contract, okay, it's not legally binding. It's just a guideline, and it provides a structure for us to have our next patterns. Because the greatest change we need to make is to go from consumption, like we're cattle on a farm, to production, like we're hunters, like we're, we know how to be, so that's what these internships in Japan, they're here to do with these Japanese host companies, so that we could eventually be the ones to, bring information, IP, intellectual property, and be the one that's, organizing, these commissions. But realize that, there is a fine line between delusion, psychosis, insight, knowledge, religion, gnosis, revelations. I mean, look, we are just taking what is going to be the best version of things, and creation is a sort of magic, which we understand how we go from earth, fire, water, air, and there's 5 elements. So that quintessential is like, yes, that's that ether, that's our quantum entanglement of our Japan exchange. And just look at all these companies that we know, but how they always give this reverence to Saturn, because see, there's the world going on. You're just a customer, you're just a consumer. You don't really know what's going on and the history behind things, but we could create our own. So we elevate so that we're the ones who are making things happen, not just reacting, okay? And through that way, we got innovation leadership, which connects with interactive sessions, theory and practice, global collaboration. All of this we offer you to elevate yourself, and utilizing what would be these building blocks that were talked about in the Bible, right? And how there's hidden meanings that we're not getting because we don't understand the way of the geometry, the sacred geometry that exists, or even the spectrums of light or vibrations of sound, and how there is so much going on that you're not noticing. But it's easy if we just funnel it into something which is called the affiliate programs, okay, where you're just basically getting your link and sharing with people, and people, their curiosity will drive them to be the one, but you're the one who gives this information. And so this incubator and accelerator, you're right, incubating your personal brand, so you're doing it for free, accelerating it so you're being successful more time than it would take if you didn't collaborate with me, and utilizing that with the spirit, water, air, fire, earth, all these things that we're putting together so that we are alchemically aligned, so that you stand on an integral position that's been sacred geometry connected. And just like all this kinds of art, like Gnostic art and Renaissance, and things that are designed to awaken your understanding, and really dive into that, protecting your energy, okay? This is energy work, okay? This is energy entrepreneurship. And I want you to think about how you are manipulating energies, but not in an evil way. How you either manipulate it or you get manipulated. And understand how all these things go with like even the money systems, but how they're being changed to digital, but how there are even forces at work trying to utilize these so they stay rich to maintain their system. But what exists in my system is a way that we are uniting the grassroots. But it's not that we're a threat to anyone. Even these systems need for us to be more successful. But I'm coming at you not as someone who is top down, but who is connected to you as society. So it really is necessary for us to take these lives. And yes, back to the cave where, yes, real life, but we're creating symbols of sacred geometry, understanding how, this is how it's like step by step by step. We grow, we grow, we grow. And knowing that you're building it on a sturdy foundation, not just a flimsy house of cards. And I once again messed up my thing, so I gotta make things going on, but here we go. Let's go to what we can get into here. Oh, this is very important to understand. Now look, I don't know if any of you have seen those Know Your Rights videos where people can either go to court and you could either get screwed or you could know your rights, but it has to do with understanding the difference between natural law and the law of the sea, and how there is a natural law if you know how to use your rights, but if you don't, then you're subject to the law of the sea. But this is used against you. But we'll get into that. And Facebook too, how you understand how to convert people into going from curious about what you're talking about into collaborating with you. And this has to do with awareness, consideration of what you're talking about, but then conversion into working with you. And we are masters at that. Now, this is so great from the movie The Last Samurai, is that some of you are thinking too much, okay? And, that's what Japan offers, is like no mind, okay? We get to the point where you're not thinking. And maybe sometimes that could be dangerous too, but that's why there's a balance. But when it calls for that, it's good to know that. And again, the 144, if you've ever heard of them, they were prophesized to be awakening at these times, but it also can just be meaning that, we're talking about how we're vibrating on this. Anybody can be the 144. Anybody can be part of the solution. We just have to collaborate with us and understand this feminine energy. Well, I would just say that, like they say, feminine energy is attractive, okay, but masculine energy is electric. Yeah, there you go. So, but here I would say masculine is like compartmentalizing, knowing how things are separate, but feminine energy knows how everything is related. But we embody both, and it has to do with these balances. So when you hear it from me in a practical way, I'll always have a positive way to relate. And that's why I'm your greatest collaboration partner. I'm your friend. You think these programmers who are, gods, they're not gods. They lack communication skills. And so the weaknesses of programmers, we need people like you with the communication skills, physical, leadership skills, timing. This is how we make ourselves relevant for collaboration on a level playing field, and we become now the aquaponic system, right? But also understand how our brain, okay, it is evolved, our neocortex, the highest things, but we can only get there if we first satisfy, the reptilian brain. Look, you want to make yourself relevant to someone? Just ask people what their pain points are. It appeals to the reptilian brain. And then you could elevate to where, people are really collaborating with you on a high deal. And look, we're knowing ourselves. And I'm not saying what you're seeing right now is totally true, but it's ways that you could just play these little games like, do you know your blood type? Do you know your zodiac? Do you know your numerology? Okay, don't listen to these people who are fixed mindsets telling like, oh, that's evil. Look, it's not what you do, it's how you do it. Even sometimes you have to do the worst thing to do a good thing. And that's what context is. But this is alchemic, where look, me, I'm a loop. I'm a why, but I don't even agree with that, right? Or am I would say I'm a fire. So whatever. They're just ways to, but also understand, right? How, you know, the way that government and religion has kind of like controlled us, but how we're flipping that to integrate them is how we become unleashed. So it's the inversion. Now, online marketing, all of us could be simultaneously online, but also marketing, so also getting commissions. So that's how Facebook pays you. Facebook's getting so rich off your information, but you get nothing. And you do all the work. Now recognize that's slavery, and we don't want that. So we are going to find the ways that we're getting paid too, and that can't be wrong. Companies don't even need a degree anymore. So like these people trapped in a degree, I got my education. Well, look, this is the education you really need to update. I don't charge you nothing for it. We get money off the companies. So, look, believing in media scary is noticing some inconsistency, knowing they lie all the time, actually finding humor in their pathetic attempts to manipulate. That's what we want to be at that level. And also understand too is that, look, we have different types of brain waves, GABA, beta, alpha, theta, delta, but all of these need to be taken into consideration at the right place, the right time. Greatest change we need to make from consumption to production. Come on, people. 16 things school doesn't teach you. How to sell, how to think, how to negotiate, all these things. But you're going to learn it with me. You're going to learn it with us. I'm not teaching you. We experience it. You'll figure it out for yourself. Again, with the 12 plutonic solids, 12 faces, understand we need these kinds of things. You have two options. You could either fall in line, be part of someone's plan, or ascend to become a creator in the creator economy. Humans, okay, masculine, feminine, coming together. This is what we really need to do, okay? Us ascending when it comes to, look, the cerebral spinal fluids, right? 33 brains, 12 nerves. These are all things that have been passed down to us that we need to finally find it how it's practically set up for us. And look, this is what we need to do for people. We need to take people and turn them into where they're getting a domain, they're branding, discussing their products, how to get people's options going on. And everybody you help to get ascending, you're helping to generate things that we profit share on. So it helps you to help others. These are different types of abilities we have. The eighth principle, things you care about, okay? But then also mentalism, all is mind, okay? Gender of the masculine or the feminine, which one are we using? Correspondence, the microcosm, the macrocosms, they've all been used against us, but it's practical to set us free. Cause and effect, okay? Rhythm, flowing, the in and the outs, knowing how if you go with the rhythm of things, these can all use vibrations. Everything is moving. You have the ability to affect things that can make positive change. Law of polarity, the opposites, the law of one, okay? You are a part of a thought, okay? There is, and it's just like, okay, no matter what someone says about you, what someone judges you has nothing to do with you. It is a reflection of them. And that can really help you not react when they're talking to you in ways. And so, again, all these things we just look at how they're just these types of things that we are taking into account, but us, like even this, if you look about how a human is developed and we have different senses, these are ways for information to penetrate you, essentially, right? Your sight, your smell, your hearing, your taste, your touch. But these also have an order of how, when we're conscious of these things and producing a certain effect, that we're just using it for the best. But you don't have to think about this stuff. Just know that we set it up so it's all going to be used in the best version of things. Now, also, when you do meet people of different zodiac signs, understand that you need to collect different people of different, you cannot do everything by yourself, right? Me personally, I am the Aries, I'm the Ram. So that's why it's my job to be on this podcast saying things like this to you. But, we need to also connect with people who are, have these different things, because it's all just relates to what we are. Yes, the sales funnel, my Aries life mission. Yep. Oh, the Pisces, that's my wife. So we're opposites that way too. Okay. But the mid activation, okay, the middle brain. Okay. So between the right and the left, there is the middle. And all of this stuff we are just putting into the best value. Again, the what, the who, the where, the why, the value, understanding people, how to turn them into personal brands is what we do. Developing scenarios, all just step by step, taking people into what it's going to need for them to do their best version. This is the hero's version, call to adventure, even the refusal of these calls. These all just become, every movie you've ever seen utilizes that. And the human is set for human stories, which is so much why we are just drawn to certain things. But when we create the duality of like the marketing and the sales and the IT and the operations, this is where we get our productive, positive loops that we are expecting. And I grew up also, hearing a lot of jazz and how the way jazz is so decentralized versus the way an orchestra, classical music with a conductor. So we're going from that classical music era to now we're jazz. We're functioning in the jazz. Everyone's got their time to solo. And no, like people talk about the light, but you got to know that the light is it's the positive and the negative. It's the light and the darkness. They all make up the light. Without one, there is not the other. And how we go for people who are first like asleep, unaware, and understanding through their curiosities, getting them curious, waking them up, making them awake, then get enlightened, then to an ascended master, which is what we all want to be. And certain things we just take for granted, like cards, like these cards for, trump cards, like we use, and a deck of cards, and how they all do have practical meaning. Look, nothing just falls out of a tree. Everything we see for a reason. And this is where I'm at, Mino Kamo in Japan. If we look out here, look, see, this is where I am, the center of Japan. So just so you know where I'm going to be. And our true currency is our energy. So don't worry about money. Don't worry about, we're mastering just our energy and focus, paying attention. And if we can do that, we're going to get on the right stage. Law of attraction, you are a magnet, attracting blessings. What is the world we're living in where we're all down here? And all these different things exist where the people who are ruling us, controlling us, but how we are inverting that, going from even people down at the bottom, but getting up into eventually, right, higher states of awareness, because the universe doesn't speak English, it speaks frequency. And all of us have the ability to be empathic. And these are the kinds of things that we all are now doing, like, solitude, helping people, listening to people, internalizing people's emotions, putting ourselves in their shoes, helping people rest, restore, rebirth, finding their various things, okay? Not worried about what people think, because people don't know what they're talking about, but only staying in what is in our control. And our collaboration is in our control, and we're masters of that. And this is about playing the roles, okay? So we all have the ability to be all these roles: creator, innocent, sage, explorer, outlaw, magician, hero, lover, jester, everyman. Yes. So sometimes we are the right person we need to be at the right time. And English in Japan is so different. So we've got English, we got Japanese, and Japan English is like, Nani the hell is Kore? If you speak English, Nani is what the hell is Kore? This. What the hell is this? Elephant on a penguin. That's something interesting. Okay, so Yep. And wow. So just, yep, Aquarius. Oh, I know people who are Aquariuses. Yes. Just different ways of looking at us, but also understand like this is the plan that people have for us with our medical details. All of our information is located in one era, but what we're trying to do is get us to control it and not be controlled, if you can deal with that. And also understand how, yes, with our websites and traffics and funnels, like we really are offline traffic too, how we're the best version of online and offline. And we are also alchemists. So taking whatever is volatile, whatever's fixed, like the earth and the water or the fire, the water, and turning it into, of course, how we create in, of course, the prima materia, the perfect version of something. And this also goes into how we're activating these, what we call the Merkaba, our light bodies, and we are the light. So we are the source of creation, love, compassion, truth, knowledge. Again, we just go to the highest value of things, and how, seeing how what people talk about with, as above, so below, and how before we can even get into what the upper levels are, we have to see what the lower levels are. And wow, could it be we're even on a I don't know, that I'm even, not even here. So here we go. Did I go through everything? I might have went through everything. Good. These are all the things I prepared for people. And here on this Japan exchange, right? I created this. So this is that website I created, right? The Exchange revenue streams ecosystem. As an ambassador of your area, you'll have passionate conversations with travelers, helping them connect to local businesses. We record these conversations for our YouTube channels for the organic marketing you need to live an authentic life. The information from your conversations creates the smart contracts that gives you personal brand authority people trust. And if you click on this, there's the call to action where you're going to get taken to this dash next, where you can then get your $27 license and even more. But there's various, see, add 127 one-time fee. Simplicity, he's going on. Results, so yes, you need to watch. This is Peter. He's awesome. He created the system, and eventually this is going to become its own cryptocurrency. But we're not a cryptocurrency like people where it's just money, value outside of you. You are the cryptocurrency. So when I saw this guy, I'm set to inherit like 1,000,000 of these licenses. I could launch 1,000,000 businesses, but we all are sources of startup incubators that are coming around and helping people get their situation set up. So people, I think what I did right now is just show you everything that I wanted to show you for now. And I don't know, people, if possible, I want to talk with you more, and we could find out ways that we could collaborate. And so I've got plenty of other things to show you. Anybody who's hearing this and wants to talk with me more, Nate Raymond, the Japan Exchange, I really want to hear from you. I want us to collaborate more. I want to show you what I think is going to be powerful collaboration with us. You're going to find your new ways of collaborating. And people, what do you think about that? Let's I'm really hoping that I'm not gonna lose all this, so I'm just gonna share it. Nate Raymond, Japan Exchange, let's collaborate. Let's do my Japan exchange review, revenue streams ecosystem, and I'll show you how what I did in Japan is something that we could set up with a Japan Exchange in your location, and we're gonna love it. Okay, people, thank you very much. Happy to make this podcast. Let's talk soon. Let's collaborate. Whew. Yes. Let's see. Am I still recording? I don't think so. Sometimes I never know what's going to happen here. Yep. Okay. Well, I guess we did it.